Hello, and welcome to 10,000 Stitches Podcast, episode 28? Yes, 28. Sorry, I was making sure that I had the right microphone selected. Anyway, welcome to 10,000 Stitches Podcast, episode 28. This is a podcast all about the joys of sock knitting. My name is Andy, and I like making socks, even though sometimes I don't feel like it. More on that later. Anyway, my name's Andy. If you wanted to find me elsewhere on the interwebs, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Ravelry as Purlbug, Purlbug. You can find my blog at thepurlbug.com, and then I have the 10,000 Stitches Podcast Ravelry group. Yes, you can contact me through most of those. You can send me a message on like Twitter, Instagram, or Ravelry. Or you can leave a comment on a blog post if you wanted to comment on something more public, or on the YouTube channel. If you wanted to send me a message, like a more private message, but you don't have one of those social media things that I mentioned, there's also a contact form on my blog if you wanted to send something straight to my email, then I can reply to you there. I am currently recording on Monday, June 13th, and this episode will be live on Tuesday, June 14th, and it's about 5 o'clock, which means that it is rush hour right now. I mean, it is rush hour, and I live on a fairly busy street, so I'm hoping that not too much road noise is getting picked up in the background, but we'll just make do. I normally, when I record on Mondays, it's kind of an accident. This was actually, for a specific reason, I waited until today. Although now, of course, I'm wishing I would have done it yesterday when it was quieter, but whatever, we'll go with it. So the format of the episode today is going to be pretty much the same as normal. We'll talk about finished objects, works in progress, what's coming up next. We'll talk about the knit along, question of the week, and then chit chat. So pretty much the same as always. In terms of finished objects, I believe I have two, I think, because I don't think when I showed you guys these last week, I don't think they were done, but this is just those plain vanilla socks that I was working on using the Knit Picks Felici, and they're just done. So I think last week when I was recording, I was like just about to the toe on one of them, and now they are done. And it's really weird because it seems like they aren't the same size, but I'm pretty sure that I made them the same size. But I think I just stretched one out when I tried it on. I'll have to recount the rows and make sure they actually are the same size, because now I am very concerned, because you can see there's a difference of like about half an inch there, so we'll see. But I was pretty sure that I had counted the rows properly. Oops. Anyway, so those are done. And then I have another sort of kind of what I'm calling a finished object. So I had mentioned that after those vanilla socks, the next socks up were going to be the Paragon socks again, and I was determined to get them both to the same place. So if you are new here and you don't know the whole saga behind these Paragon socks, this is what the pattern looks like. And, so I forgot to mention, any patterns or shops or anything else that I mentioned that deserves a link will be linked down below. If you're watching on YouTube, there will be a link underneath the video to the specific blog post that goes with this episode, and there will also be a link to the Ravelry group in the description. And then on the blog post and in the Ravelry thread for this episode, that's where everything will be linked. So yeah, this is what the pattern looks like, and I was knitting this out of Cascade Heritage sock in a colorway that I don't remember the number or the name of, but it's this really pretty like blue-gray kind of color. And this is the first one I had done. So these were for my older brother, as kind of a pair of dress socks. And the problem being that I don't know my older brother's foot size. So I had texted him to ask him what his foot size was, and he never got back to me, which is not uncommon with him. He's very busy. And now he's out of the country for the rest of the summer. So this one I had, been knitting it, and then I just put it on some scrap yarn and cast on the second one. Like I got to this one to the point where I was like, I really need to now know how long his foot is before I can keep going. So this one was finished. Also, I was afraid of running out of yarn. And then I had started the other one, and now this one is to the same point. So I got them both to the same point. They are now the same length. So these are sort of a finished object until I figure out how big my older brother's foot is. So they are going on hold for a couple months until he gets back from his summer thing, and I can get him to actually measure his foot. So these I'm considering finished, even though they are definitely not. In reality, they're probably 75% finished as a pair. So yeah, that's that. And so then now for my work in progress. So the next pattern on my list was the Piece of My Heart socks, and that is by D. Kissinger. And I only know that because I have that on the screen behind my laptop. So these ones are being made, both those other ones were knit on size 1s, US size 1s, which is a 2.25 millimeter needle. These are also knit on US size 1s, 2.25 millimeter needle. So this one is Piece of My Heart, and the yarn for this cream color is a Cascade Heritage sock in just like a creamy white kind of color. And then this super bright pink is Plymouth Yarn's Neon Now, and I forget the colorway. It's either 001 or 005. I forget. And then this is kind of, let's see if I can get what the pattern looks like here for you without banging into things too much. It doesn't show up super well in this yarn, but you can kind of see. It's these cute little like heart lace pattern. I actually really like it. So here's the thing, and I don't want to come off too harsh because I don't want to be bad-mouthing a pattern designer who gave us a pattern, for free. This is a free pattern. And basically the pattern is just for the heart lace, part of it, and then it's kind of like, well, do your favorite heel and toe. So I don't want to be too critical because I got definitely more than what I paid for it, but I'm not crazy about the way the pattern is written because for one, it doesn't have charted instructions, which is fine. I made a chart on graph paper. But for two, it's written in a way that doesn't really make sense to me because she doesn't mirror the decreases. So she uses a lot of knit two togethers in places that I would use a slip knit. So when I did my chart, I put in slip knits, slip knits? Yeah. In places where she had knit two togethers. And I mean, I'm sure at the end of the day, I don't think it matters a ton. But that's kind of how I did it, and I like it a lot better like that. So yeah, that's what it looks like. I might actually contact the designer and see if she is see if she's interested in having a chart made up for her, and to add to the project page maybe, because I think for me the chart is super helpful because kind of once I could see it on the chart, then I began to understand how this was working, and then I pretty much memorized it. So but yeah, so I just turned the heel on this. This was using a Fish Lips Kiss heel. It's a 68 stitch sock. The pattern is written for 68 stitches, and I actually prefer 68 stitches because that seems to be kind of the magical number for me to fit my foot, and to fit most people's feet that I know using, the size of yarn that I use and the size of needles. So yeah, I have turned the heel and I'm into the foot. It's a little bit shorter leg. I think I did 50 rows of leg pattern and then 15 rows of ribbing before I turned the heel. And this one has been flying along. So this is what I mean with the whole I do like knitting even though sometimes I pretend that I don't. So the Paragon socks, I think it was just because there was so much going back and forth between knitting and purling in here. But it takes a long time. Basically doing ribbed socks takes a long time. And so these ones, even though I memorized the pattern and didn't have to keep looking at the charts, it just felt like they were going so slowly. And, for someone like me who knits so many socks and really wants to produce them at a fairly quick pace, this was infuriating. And so when I was working on these, I was just I would just get super mad at the socks, and I'd be like, why am I even knitting? I hate knitting. This is so stupid. Why did I take on this stupid project? And I would just get super upset. And I think it's not knitting itself. It was just that this pattern was really frustrating to me because it just took too long. It just took too much energy. Whereas these, I started these yesterday morning and I've already threw a heel. So this one definitely is a lot less mentally taxing and therefore is a lot more enjoyable for me to do. Plus, the yarn is super bright pink, so how can I not love that? But it's just interesting, the attitude change that can happen with stuff like this. I'm glad that I pushed through the Paragon and just got them done. And now they can, sit off to the side for a while. But these ones, I'm really enjoying knitting. And this is really fun for me versus those were not. So yeah, that's my work in progress. What's coming up next is the Longing for Spring socks. And then after that are the Cadence socks. I think. Yes. So I lost a little bit of time because the Paragon socks took me longer than planned, and because I did these vanilla socks when I was on vacation. So I'm having to cut out a couple patterns that I had in my queue. So I looked at like the couple patterns that I had there, and I decided that Longing for Spring was one that I really wanted to do. And then I looked at the other three, and I decided that the Cadence socks were the ones that I was most interested in. So those are the two that I'm doing, because it's crazy, but after this week, which, you know, will be my week for the Piece of My Heart socks, that'll pretty much be, there's 2 more weeks, and then that's it. That's it for the lace socks, and then we're on to other stuff. So, whoa. Anyway, something fun that I should mention. So what I've mentioned before that I kind of write down notes and stuff in these notebooks. And so I always try to like keep track of like kind of when I hit major milestones on my socks. So like, when do I start the first one? When do I turn the heel on the first one? When do I finish the first one? When do I start the second one, et cetera, et cetera. And I always usually abbreviate them, especially if they have longer names like Piece of My Heart socks. So I thought I would mention that the way I was abbreviating Piece of My Heart socks is like that. So it's a little palm heart. I thought that was really fun. Piece of My Heart. Yeah, that's that. So yeah, those are my 2 socks that are coming up next, and I would get the yarn out for them, but I still haven't, like, before I left on vacation, I wound up taking all my yarn out of my duffel bag and kind of packing it into some paper garbage sacks, and then put those away in the closet. And then it turned out I didn't take my duffel bag on vacation anyway, but I still have not yet transferred my yarn back into the duffel bag. And I don't even know actually where my duffel bag has wound up, because Wesley cleaned a bunch and I don't know where he put things. So I have no idea where I know where some of my yarn is right now, but it's much more packed away than normal and much harder to get to. So I will show you those yarns as I get to them. And speaking of the knit along, let's talk about the knit along. So like I said, we have like this week and then 2 more weeks after that left of this lace knit along. And we currently have, looking at this, 35 finished objects. If I'm subtracting the right number from the number of posts in the thread, pretty sure we have 35 finished objects in the thread, which is super awesome. And I have to give a little bit of a shout out because I saw someone who put in a finished object in, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing their name correctly, but actually I won't mention the name. You know who you are. They put in a picture of their finished object, and it was the first pair of socks they have ever made. And I mean, granted, this is not the first person who has said, hey, this is my first time making socks. And to everyone who does that, that is so awesome. Like, that fills me with warm fuzzies every time I see someone who says, look, this gave me the little extra oomph that I needed to make my first pair of socks. And I, like, seriously, it makes my heart happy. But this especially because this person, I know they really struggled with this first pair of socks, and they posted about it in the chatter thread, and, you know, with having trouble with like getting the sizing to work right and all of that, which is super tricky. Like, that's, especially with your first pair, I almost want to tell people, like, don't expect that they'll fit. Like, just expect that the first pair is just going to be foot bags, and they're not going to fit well, but it's your first pair, and that's the important thing. But anyway, so they posted a lot in the chatter thread, like asking for help with, you know, tips and stuff to get these to fit right. And so, I mean, kudos to this member of the group for making their first pair of socks. And, you know, they're not identical. They're not, you know, they don't look like commercial socks, but they look like something that a lot of work went into, and I'm super proud of them. But I'm also proud of everyone else who chipped in and helped out, you know, saying, hey, here's my tips for a beginner. Here's how, you know, you can figure out how many stitches you need and all of that. Like, every time I see that, it just makes me really happy again, because it really reinforces this whole sense of like the community. And that's what I really love about this. Like, it's the same way with like my fountain pen hobby that I'm into, that I mention every so often. Like, there's really this like core sense of community once you really get into it. And I love that. And I love that about knitting too, is that it's always people who are willing to like get out there and help other people, and, you know, help other people learn from their, you know, their mistakes. Like, that's part of why I do this, is I want to help you guys learn from my mistakes, so that hopefully you don't have to do that too. So anyway, that was just super awesome, and I'm super excited about that. And kudos to everyone who, you know, is making maybe their first pair of socks. And you know, I'll say it again, don't expect your first pair to fit. Don't expect them to be perfect. Your second pair might not even work right. But the point is that it's a fun project, and it's small, and you get to use such fun yarns, and eventually you will get socks out of it that you can wear. And until then, you get a lot of slipper socks, and that works well too. So anyway, so 35 finished objects, and I will have a prize by the next time we record. I'm gonna sit. I have an Etsy shop. Oh, geez. I have an Etsy shop that I found when I was at work today, so I just have to re-find it now that I'm home and not on my computer and not on my phone. And I will order a skein and have it ready, have the prize ready by the next time I record. I promise. So anyway, we will have a prize by next week that I can show. So yeah, that's that for the knit along. And then I guess we will talk a little bit about question of the week. So my question of the week last week was asking for sewing tips, and I got a lot of really good tips, mostly saying not to do what I was doing and not to work with stretch fabrics, which, I mean, nobody said that in a mean way, and I kind of knew this, but like most people were like, you should really start with not stretchy fabrics, which I agree. The problem being that I have to get an iron and an ironing board, and I just haven't gotten around to doing that yet. I just haven't had a lot of time to really like do things the past week, and I'll talk about that in chit chat, but it's just been busy. So I haven't done any more sewing since then because I just haven't gone out and gotten an iron and an ironing board. But I did find a book of patterns. I think it's called like Sew, and that's Sew like SEW. So Many Dresses, So Little Time, I think is what it was called. And it's basically this book where like they present like different like bodice patterns. So like I think like 4 or 5 different like basically tops, and then they present like a whole bunch of like arms or like sleeves that you can do, and then different like variations on the neckline, and then different variations on the skirt. So you basically mix and match all these pieces to create, the dress that has all the things that you want. So I had seen it at the bookstore, didn't pick it up because I was like, oh, I'll order it on Amazon where it'll be cheaper. But then on Amazon, people were saying, don't order it off Amazon because you may not get the pattern pieces that are supposed to come with the book. So I was like, oh, shoot. So I just haven't been back to the bookstore yet. But I think that's what I'm going to do to try and, to kind of restart with the whole like trying to make garments and stuff. And I do really want to try and make some project bags. So I think maybe that will be a smaller project sooner, probably once I get an iron and stuff like that. So yeah. So anyway, thank you everyone for your answers to question of the week last week, because I really kind of needed that. And I guess I have 2 questions of the week then this week. One is just a sewing follow-up question that just popped into my head. I promise this really is a podcast about knitting. But anyway, a sewing secondary question that popped into my head that is related to knitting. And then one is totally not related. So the sewing one, and this is related to knitting. So, I just mentioned I want to try and make a project bag. And my question is, So, while I don't have a lot of project bags, I've seen a lot of, like, the different project bags that are out there. So my question is, like, what is that one thing that you wish you could find in a project bag that just nobody seems to do? And I'm just curious for, like, kind of, like, different approaches to a project bag. Like, if you could design your dream project bag, what would it have? Like, what is that one thing that seems to be missing? I'm very curious about that, because like I can think of things that I would really like, but I'm sure, it's not as if nobody has thought of this before, but like, I would maybe like a little pocket or something where like I could put like my scissors or something, or I was even thinking like trying to make one that's like, cylindrical, and then, having obviously like the major top portion be where like the yarn goes, but then like along the bottom having like a separated off part that maybe has like a zipper or something like that, some way to open just the bottom part that would have like your notion. So like that way I could put my scissors in there, I could put, like a pen or something in there, and I don't have to worry about it mingling with the yarn on top. So that's like something that I would like to try. So is there something like that maybe you are like, why does nobody do this? What is it? What would you love? So that's my sort of knitting related question of the week. And then my secondary question is totally not knitting related, but so it is, now mid-June, and Richmond is a I think it's technically defined as like a subtropical climate. Like it's hot. And my parents back home in Minnesota and in Iowa have been telling me that it has been getting really hot, like even hotter there than here. But like here it's been getting hot and sticky and gross and sunny. Ugh. So my question is, what is your favorite way to like beat the heat in the summer? I mean, like what is your like kind of magical thing that you do to beat the heat? Like Wesley and I, we don't like the heat. Like we don't respond well to hot weather. We're both very pale, so like the sun is not our friend, you know. And add on top of that being physicists, and we're like, no, you know. So we don't like the sun, we don't like the heat, but I also don't, you know, want to run the AC all the time. So like for me, what I do is, and this is just kind of like a quick solution, but I have this little popsicle maker that Wesley got me a couple of years ago for like Christmas or something. And they sell them at Williams-Sonoma. It's basically one of those ones that you put in your freezer and you leave it in the freezer all the time. And then when you want to make a popsicle, you pull it out, you pour in your juice and you put your little sticks in and it freezes in like 10 minutes. It's a Zoku if anyone is wondering, and I do highly recommend it. It's magical. But anyway, because like it makes popsicles on demand, like that's kind of my way to like beat the heat in the summer is I will always keep like some sort of like lemonade or juice or something in the fridge and just like pour it in. And it's like super fast, super easy. And, you know, it's not like I have to like go to the store and then my ice cream's melted by the time I get home. So it's a nice way to cool off. That's kind of like my secret to like beat the heat. And I've also started keeping water in the fridge because now that it's hot, I swear cold water like doesn't come out of the faucet here. Like I can turn the faucet all the way to cold and the water that comes out is cool, but it's not cold anymore. And I really prefer to drink like cold water. So now I've had to start keeping it in the fridge, and like I've even started adding like lemon and lime wedges to it just to like give it a little bit of flavor so that it's slightly nicer when I'm having to drink all of it because I'm sweating so much. But yeah, that's the way that I beat the heat in the summer. But I'd be curious to hear what you guys do. You know, do you jump in the pool or play in the sprinkler or eat a lot of ice cream? Like if you live anywhere that it gets hot, what do you do to like keep from melting in the summer? And that is going to be it for like the knitting related stuff. So if that's all you're here for, thank you very much for hanging out with me, and I will see you next week, hopefully. Otherwise, we will move on to some chit chat. So I think I mentioned that I just feel like I've been really busy this past week, and I don't know that I can necessarily like pinpoint exactly what it is, but yeah, like I've just felt really busy, and at the same time like not that busy. Like I didn't have a ton to do at work last week because, you know, we were still just kind of trying to get ready for like the summer labs to start, and they start on Wednesday. So the day after this podcast goes live, that's when those start back up. But you know, so it was kind of like this really like weird calm before the storm, and I felt really restless. But then at the same time, I just felt like I didn't get a lot done in general. So I must have been busy doing things, but I don't know what I was doing. But one of the things I've been trying to do is read more. And I thought that maybe, you know, read more instead of just like sitting watching like useless YouTube videos. Like I'll just sit and watch BuzzFeed for hours. Like, ugh. And so I was like, okay, I need to like try and read more versus like just sitting on Instagram or something like that. So I thought maybe if I mention what I'm reading, that will hold me accountable to like read books more. And I read books mostly on my Kindle. I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but the Richmond libraries use Overdrive, which is a sort of like way that you can digitally use a library card to get ebooks and you don't ever have to go to the library. So I do that, and then I get them sent straight to my Kindle. So the one book that I started reading yet last week was How Bad Are Bananas? And it was this book all about sort of like what is the carbon impact of like everything. And I thought it was going to be this sort of like narrative book, you know, sort of like following like, you know, what's the carbon impact of an orange and why is it that way? And, you know, going all the way. But it wasn't. It was basically like, oh, you know, it was literally like a bunch of lists. It was like, oh, okay, a banana. What's the carbon impact of a banana? And then like a paragraph of why that is. And then he would jump to like a TV. What's the carbon impact of a TV and why? So like needless to say, it was not what I wanted it to be. And I just could not stay interested in it for very long. And I will, if I can, I'll try and link these books down below in case you want to check them out. I'll probably just put in like Amazon links, and they won't be affiliate links, but it's just if you want to check out the book, I'll try and find somewhere to link it down below. But yeah, that book just I wasn't that interested in, so I kind of quit maybe a quarter of the way through. But then the next book I started reading is called You Are Here. From the Compass to GPS, the history and future of how we find ourselves. And this one I really like. This is definitely more of like what I was looking for in the last one, where it's talking about, kind of like the history of how people have like navigated and defined like location and stuff like that. And it's just really interesting. So like it started out talking about like, like sailors and like, the like basic like star navigation and compasses and stuff like that, and then it went to like things like gyroscopes, and now they're talking about GPS and how GPS works. And so it's just really interesting because like it has this sort of narrative storytelling quality, which like if I'm going to read nonfiction, I still want it to like tell a story. Like I don't want it to just be like facts, like I don't want to be reading a textbook. I want to still be reading something that has like a strong narrative feel to it, but but I want to learn something. So that's what I'm currently reading. According to my Kindle, I'm about halfway through. But sometimes with these books that can be a little misleading because there can be a lot of pages of like references at the end. But apparently I'm about 44% of the way through. So my guess is that I really am about halfway through it. But that one I'm really enjoying. I hope to get it finished soon. I have the app, I have it on my Kindle, but I also have a Kindle app on my phone. So I don't bring my Kindle with me to work. But sometimes if I have some time and it's not like a long enough time to like pull out my knitting, I'll, pull out my book on my phone and read a few pages there. So yeah, that's one I've really been liking, and hopefully I'll have another one to talk about next week. We'll see. Maybe we'll have a book club eventually, but I don't know. I don't know that I'm ready for that. But yeah, so that's something that I've been trying to do more. I've been trying to get to the gym more, which, as we know, is always a little meh with me. It was tough like when we came back, like trying to get back to the gym, and I've been doing an okay job of it. I actually got Wesley to go with me yesterday, which was Sunday. We went and did the, picking up heavy things and putting them back down thing, and then we played badminton for a little bit, so that was really fun. I'm trying to think of what else we did this past weekend. On Friday, we went up to King's Dominion again, which I think I mentioned last week. King's Dominion is like a theme park that's just a little bit outside of Richmond. We went there Friday and had a really good time there Friday. We rode a couple of roller coasters and walked through this little like dino thing that they have, like I think it's like Dinosaurs Alive or something. It's just this kind of like little like trail that goes through like part of the forest, and like there's little like animatronic dinosaur things there, which I mean to us we're kind of like, oh, that's neat, but I get like to kids like it would be really cool. But I mean it was pretty cool. Like it's something that we get admission to with our season passes for free, so it's like, well, why not? And the nice thing is like it's shady, so it's like a good way to like get away from the sun for a little bit. But we also rode this super cool roller coaster there it's like in the dark. It's like sort of dark. It's not completely dark, but like it's definitely like it's all indoors, and it's definitely not lit super well. And it was so cool. Like I love those kind of roller coasters like that. I mean, like of course I love the really big like outdoor ones, but like I think the indoor ones are really cool because it's like, how do you fit so much in such a tiny space? But yeah, that was really fun. We did that on Friday, and then Saturday night we went to a birthday party for one of my friends' brother, the brother of a friend of mine, and we just stayed out entirely too late and had too much fun, and then that led to not much getting done yesterday because we were both just like all day. So yeah, that was that. And then the reason that I wanted to wait to record until today was because I wanted to talk about the first day of my summer class. Yay! So VCU does like multiple like summer schedules, and I don't understand how they work, but today was the start of one of the summer schedules. And this one runs, the one that my class is on is a 5-week schedule. So it goes from today, June 13th, until July 13th, I think. And I'm taking just an intro stats class, and it meets for like 2 hours a day, every day of the week. And like our first test is on Wednesday. So like this is going to be really intense because I've never taken a summer, like a real summer class before. I think I've taken like a gym class in the summer before. but like I've never taken like a real summer class, so it'll be interesting like how the pacing works. I mean, luckily this material is not stuff that's like completely new to me, because like physics covers a lot of like the intro statistics stuff, so I'm mostly taking it to kind of like get a feel for like, you know, can I take classes and be working full time and like juggle both of those things. And I mean, what better way to prove it than with a summer class that meets a lot and is like super intense versus like during the regular semester when the pace is far more leisurely. So yeah, we had that today. It was a lot of just like going over the syllabus and stuff, and the class was smaller than I thought it would be. Like there were only 17 people in the class, and I thought for something like that there would be more, but maybe 17 is a big number. I don't know. But yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that. I'm really excited about that. And I mean, I'm not excited necessarily about all the work, but then again, I think I definitely have it a lot easier than other students because I already know a lot of the basic materials. So we'll see. But yeah, I think that's about it. And it is getting to be dinner time here, so I should probably go fix some dinner. I don't know what's for dinner yet. Probably just chicken and something. But yeah, that's going to be it for this week. Thank you very much for hanging out with me, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Bye!